coming. Thank you for recording many of the upcoming PD and coaching sessions, along with other folks from the SREB team members that you may have met when they conducted a visit at your school. So for all schools that hosted a visit the past 2 years, I just want to say thank you for your hospitality and support. It definitely made a positive difference in the visits, and we got a lot of good feedback from Linda and the team. That the visits were outstanding and the feedback was outstanding. The discussions they had with your students and staff were invaluable. So the visits took place, and now there's a lot of data to unpack, a lot of data to review, and figure out where to go from here. So this session is the first of several sessions that will be held throughout this school year, both virtual and in-person offerings. To unpack overall district findings, give you an opportunity to see your specific school program rubrics, and essentially designed to help school leaders and any stakeholders implement SREB strategies for improving student achievement. And so with that, I'm going to pass it on to Dr. Floyd. Go ahead, Linda.
Good morning, afternoon. Sorry, it is the afternoon here. We did a session this morning, so and since it's such a small group, we'll just go ahead and we're going to just stay in this. I did have Deb and I had planned to do breakout rooms, which I know she's disappointed, but we're going to just go ahead and stay in this room together and learn together today. So, but I really appreciate you all taking, I know you had other places you could be, and so I want to make this informative for you. I want you to have some takeaways, which we'll go over those. I'm so happy to have some middle school people here too. That's exciting. So thank you for joining us, and glad to hear that you're starting individuals early. That's exactly what we promote at SREB, so you all are on a roll. Keep it going. 76 years ago, in 1948, a group of Southern governors and state lawmakers united to form an interstate compact dedicated to working together to improve education throughout the South. That idea became the Southern Regional Education Board of its 16 Southern states, which is the nation's first regional interstate compact for education. SREB is a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization headquartered in Atlanta, Georgia. I live in London, Kentucky. Deb Cullen lives in West Virginia, but on our emails, you will see the address is Atlanta, Georgia, and thus that's why, because we have individuals from all various states across the United States that actually work for us. So SREB works with states all across the U.S. to improve education at every level. We work from coast to coast. I had shared earlier today that I even have a contract with Northern Mariana Islands, and that's Saipan, Saipan, Tinian, and Rota Islands, and that's between Japan and Australia. So it's way out there. We get around, and so you never know where we're going to be. But we work with early childhood through doctoral education and the workforce. Our work is funded by appropriations from our 16 governing states, as well as by grants and contracts from foundations and from local, state, and federal agencies that we contract with in addition to the southern states. So thus we have a contract with Philadelphia schools, and we also have a contract with the state of Pennsylvania. This is our wheel of work that you see here. If you will see the support action part, that's the part that the division that Deb and I work in, school improvement. Those services focus on support actions and aspects of the work to empower educators to transform learning through a research-based improvement process and ongoing professional development and challenging curriculum. Let's move to the next slide.
Sorry. There you go.
Okay. SREB School Improvement Services, which is our Making Schools Work School Improvement Division, was formerly known as High Schools at Work, which is a process designed for district-wide continuous improvement. Making Schools Work engages teachers, leaders, and staff working together in a distributed leadership structure to take ownership of their improvement effects by addressing these 5 focus areas, which you see here in the first column: engaging instruction, aligned curriculum, career pathway, student support, and continuous improvement. And Deb's going to be working with the teachers in these same areas and covering this same information in a different manner, since it's going to be face-to-face next week. So we're going to be working with them, and that's what we mean when we're talking about engaging teachers and leaders for distributed leadership, because we believe in buy-in, because the teachers then will own the problem-solving process and the goals that have been set up. So we combine this process with our 10 key practices, which is what you see in the 4 columns there, for each level of education: elementary, middle school, high school. And SREB is the only national organization that also includes technology centers, because we believe that technology centers, they are have they have some different issues that they have to work through. So we work with them separately, but they use a lot of the same information that I'm sharing with high schools as well. Next slide. So here you see cohorts 1 and 2. We worked with 26 high schools. We actually kicked off the site visits with a week at Swinson in January of 2023. And over the next year and a half, we continued the site visits to each of the remaining 25 high schools. You'll see all 26 high schools listed here that we visited. And during these visits, SREB school improvement staff interviewed the CTE teachers and students and reviewed multiple sources of data for each school's CTE programs, and we entered the results into individual rubrics. And you'll see that in its entirety, and you will see how massive this year and a half project was. We actually worked with Philadelphia School District, your CTE leaders, on designing this process the first semester of, it's actually August to December of 2022. And then we kicked it off with the actual visits in January of 2023. So here you see we conducted 366 walkthroughs at 26 high schools. So we had a team of individuals, and there was always, someone that was consistent on these visits. Most of those, I went on almost all those visits, and we had 101 programs in these 2 cohorts, which you can see from the charts that are here. If you look at the list on cohort 1, those are the 5 schools that we visited in the spring of 2023. And there were 43 programs that we reviewed. They're the group we refer to as cohort 1. And then on the right-hand side, cohort 2 had 58 programs that we visited. And so this slide shows the schools and those number of programs reviewed at each site. So you can see the reason that January of 2023 to May of 2023, we just did those 5 sites, because they have many more programs. So we spent 4 to 5 days at those sites. I'd also like to mention that some programs were not reviewed at some of these sites. So if those numbers look a little strange to you, because if they didn't have a teacher in place, we did not review that program, because it was a little unfair to give feedback when it may have a substitute teacher or something in there. So we tried not to skew the data. Next slide. And so here you see the 101 programs that were represented in the 2 cohorts, and teachers and students were observed and interviewed in each of these programs across the district during the past 2 school years. This slide identifies the CTE clusters that were reviewed and the programs in each of those clusters, how many programs there were in each of those clusters that we reviewed. So I took the data from each of those 101 rubrics that we'll look at in just a moment and compiled that to give data for each of the cluster areas that you'll see on your left-hand side of each of those charts. And then the next step was, and that was for each year. So there was a report sent to the district for each year and the results that we got for each year. And then for what you're looking at, I've combined all 101 rubrics to give you the results that you're going to be seeing later on in the pie charts. So just to give you a little background on that. Next slide. Each focus area of the rubric reveals the multiple measures that the team used as indicators and sources of evidence of student learning. And I will show you these in greater detail when we look at the rubric later. We looked at such as various types of assessments, student portfolios, the classroom walkthroughs that the SREB team members completed, and then other factors such as demographics, perceptions, number of students enrolled, number of students in the classes. And we also gathered perceptions gathered through interviews of teachers and students and school and district processes. So there was a lot of data that we analyzed, and we want to thank the teachers, the school district, and the CTE individuals that are on here from the school district. I'm sorry, from the school district of Philadelphia, and also the schools administrators also provided data. So everybody was involved in providing data, and then the teachers and students were interviewed. Each teacher was interviewed separately, and each group, like for 101 programs, we interviewed 101 different groups of students. So we got a variety of feedback. We didn't, we tried again to capture as much as we could as possible. So as you'll see during the next part of our session, you'll see the results of the study of these 101 programs. And you'll also have slides that will identify the pieces of evidence in more detail. So we can look at that, and you can ask questions about that as well at that point in these 6 focus areas that we're going to identify on the next slide. So as you recall, I mentioned that the Making Schools Work framework is built around 5 focus areas, and those are the same as the first 5 that you see here: leadership for continuous improvement, engaging instruction, career pathways, aligned curriculum, and systems of support, which is for student support. And then for Philadelphia, facilities was added as a separate focus area. Now, we always review facilities, but we put it into career pathways or other areas. But I did like that the district wanted that pulled out and put in separately. So thank you for that, because we may look at when we're revising our framework in the future. So thank you for that. But I just want to tell you, the Office of CTE for Philadelphia, for School District of Philadelphia, wanted to make certain that students are prepared for college and career with a focus on improving student outcomes and then moving from good to great by identifying the promising practices that they have in place and areas of growth. So that's why we were called in as a third party to give an unbiased, factual feedback to them so that they would know where are our programs currently. And so we could design professional development around that, or professional learning. The study was designed around our Making Schools framework, as I mentioned before. And as a result of the study, the district is kicking off the professional learning opportunities this school year, and you should have a copy of everything that's taking place, but we're kicking that off in today's session. And so I'm going to let Deb Cullen tell you about what professional learning looks like for, or will look like for the teachers in School District of Philadelphia.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here with us. I'm very excited to be back in Philadelphia working with all of you. So basically what our professional learning will look like is we will be doing some various training sessions, but a lot of it also will be individual coaching sessions that we'll do virtually, unless I can be in the schools and work with teachers. But I'll set up links for a full day of coaching, and we can look at items that we want to work on as a teacher or as a school. And I can just spend time with the teachers one-on-one, or they can come together in groups, however it will work. But I'll give a link, like I said, and people can come in for 15 minutes, if they have some time in their classrooms, if they're on their planning period, however it looks. But it's just really a way that I can support and be there, help create lesson plans, help create anything that we have found in our look at the Philadelphia schools, just to have a one-on-one support for your teachers.
If you have CTE teachers that want to collaborate with a core content teacher, this might be a great opportunity for them. This is not just, it's for CTE. So we want your CTE teachers there, but if they want to bring someone to collaborate with, please let them do that, because this is what this is all about. So I will be taking over the screen. Is there another?
Yeah, you want me to stop sharing now?
Yeah, I think this is where I start sharing, right?
Okay, let me stop. Go ahead.
No problem. Okay. You should see my screen now. Do you see action agenda?
Yes.
Okay. And so if you're looking at, Deb is going to be putting the link to this action agenda in the chat. So I'll give her a moment to do that. And then you will have access to this always. So if you save it, or if you lose it at any point, you can email Deb, and I will share our email addresses later. And we can always send it to you, because this will always be there for you. And these links will always be there for you. So if you keep this particular one, you'll notice here we have the group slides that we're going to be using for the remainder of this session. That this is actually, we're now talking about the activity briefing, and then the group slides are here. So each of these are grouped based upon what area they are. First you see, first you see culture of continuous improvement. Here I'm on slide 16, it's engaging instruction. We can go down here and then you will see we have career pathways as the focus area 3. And then you will see that we have curriculum alignment, and then you'll see student support and facilities. So it is all set up the exact same way, with each of the charts that are part of that particular focus area. So let's dig right into looking at going back to this agenda that you have. So it also tells you what the slides are. I was planning on doing 5 groups today, but since we have a small group, we're just going to all stay together. But if you want to know where those slides are, like student support and facilities, I combine those because there's only 3 statements that we worked on for student support and 2 for facilities. But you have access to all of that. And then down here at the bottom, for area 3, these are the questions that we ask about each of the groups These are the questions that we're asking. And then we have particular questions that we ask. For example, we're going to look at engaging instruction today with your group. The last group, we looked at continuous improvement. So we're going to look at engaging instruction. And then the question we would ask around engaging instruction, how can we measure the impact of professional development on engaging instruction? Because we know our CTE teachers come with very little teaching pedagogy. Now, some actually may have gone through programs, but most come with very little pedagogy. So that's why we work closely with them to give them teaching strategies. And when we do walkthroughs, many times they don't know what they don't know because they're teaching like they were taught, which may have been old school. You know, we've moved way past rows and seats and death by PowerPoint. So let's look at some of these. We'll go a little deeper then, looking at the group slides. Let me get. So in looking at the group slides, this is, oh, let me do the slideshow. I do apologize. What you're looking at here, this is the third slide. And let me go forward because this is, I need to get to, and you can see where they filled it in. Good. Deb, if you'll take some notes again, I appreciate that. Good job. So you will always have these slides too,
Sure.
to go back on. You can add anytime you want to.
Go sit down.
And you can add comments anytime you want to in there. That's yours to use. You make a copy of it, share it with your teachers, have them run through it, say, hey, what do you think about this? Now, keep in mind, this is district-wide results. But this is where we've determined what some of these professional learning opportunities are going to be. And so how does the school, in looking at engaging instruction, the overall question we tried to answer was, how does the school, or the program in this case, ensure each student is engaged in all classrooms via quality instruction aligned to grade level or above standards? So we looked at academic integration. We looked at lesson plans. We used the walkthrough instrument. We looked at assessments, both formative and summative. We looked at project-based learning plans if they had them. We did the student and teacher interviews, all of those. So if you will notice here, this is the rubric that is for quality instruction. So how do instructors ensure each student is engaged in CTE classrooms via quality instruction? So that was what we were answering in the rubric, with student engagement and teacher collaboration being our big focus. And if you will look at 2A, we answered the statement, instruction integrates academics, literacy, math, and/or science. So we actually should have said core content there, because we don't want it to appear that CTE teachers do not teach academics. There's a great deal of academics within our CTE programs. When I was a principal, I had SREB come in and look at my CTE programs and tell me where the academics was in there, because in some of our programs, we were able to give the 4th math credit, because in electricity, they found Algebra 1, Algebra 2, and trigonometry. The math consultant from SREB was quite shocked how much. I had an excellent teacher. I only hired excellent people like Deb, you see. So, but yeah, he was an excellent individual. The construction individual was able to give credit for geometry. Well, it was the 4th math credit. They would take geometry separate, but there was a lot of, and if you've ever done construction, you want your construction people to know how to do geometry, or your building's going to look really odd. So if you will look at 2A, we have our rubric has 4 levels, and the highest level is 4. So you will see, to get a 4 to answer the question, do they integrate academics? The instruction includes a focus on more than one area of academics and makes a connection with the technical application. So I'm going to give you just a moment, and then over here on the right, this is the data that we use. This is the evidence, and we usually use at least 3 pieces so that we can triangulate the data. We don't just use one reference point and say, oh, well, that's what we saw. So you will see when we refer to the classroom data tool, that's that observation instrument that we used, and I'll share it with you later as well. So I want you to look at 2A and 2B and give me any wows, wonders, ahas, anything you want to say about it. Any questions you might have about it. So feel free to unmute yourself, put anything in the chat that you want to. Deb's watching the chat. But I'll make a comment just to start us off here. In 2B, if you notice the student interview question, think of a problem that you would have in your field and describe the steps that you would use to solve it. So we had at least 6 to 8 students in each of these 101 groups that we interviewed. And this question was asked of all 101 groups. And so if you look at that, what we were looking for is for them to actually tell us if they used a decision-making process, or do they just go to the teacher and the teacher tells them, oh yeah, this is what's wrong, this is what you need to do. That's not using steps in the decision-making process. So that's why we asked that question. And you notice we didn't just want one student responding. We wanted to hear from all the students in that program area. Notice the teacher interview question. How do you intentionally help students learn to solve problems using a problem-solving process? So automotive, they have their design. They are using it quite frequently. In your computer classes, they're using it quite frequently. These are the things we're looking for because we don't want the teachers just telling the students what the answers are. So if you look at those levels 1, 2, and 3, and 4, to get a 4, all of level 3 plus students can articulate the process. So we would ask the students, tell us what those steps are in your problem-solving process. And then if you look at 2A, notice in level 3, instruction includes a focus on one area of academics that is integrated with the technical activity. So it's not just giving, it's not just doing math on the board, it is showing them how that algebra is related to what they're doing. For example, when you're doing, or geometry, when you're doing roofing, you know, how do the angles of the roof, you know, those types of things, and relate it back to their math. So the students say, this is why I was supposed to have learned that when I was in the geometry class. And that's why we promote collaboration among academic teachers and CTE teachers, because CTE teachers don't know what those standards are that are being used for that particular math, what it's called, because business and industry call things differently than the math standards call them. So that's where we make the connection. And also, did you realize your academic teachers or your core content teachers don't even realize CTE teachers have standards too. So it's really an aha moment for them. And that collaboration for these teachers, they're like, oh, I wish I had known that earlier, because they really do. One will go in and teach their class, and the other teacher will go over and teach the other class. And I'm sorry, like the CTE teacher will go and teach the geometry class. And you may even take it down to elementary level in the 4th grade. If you're talking about ratios, your automotive teacher can go to the elementary school and explain gear ratios and make it relevant for students. That's a great opportunity to do career awareness in that manner. Any questions about this? And before I move on?
I will say, Linda, to 2A, looking at the pie chart that's a couple slides below, it's 2A, I would say, is a positive district-wide. It looks like most of the programs have integration. There were, as a matter of fact, there were none that were blue, so no level 1s. So most of them were level 3 and 4 with some level 2. So I feel like that should be put forth as a promising practice.
Absolutely. And a lot of that, this is the awareness of us making the core the core teachers aware of how much academics is taking place. Literacy in CTE is usually 13th to 15th grade level. So our students need to understand. How many of you ever read the directions for how to put something together? Is because they're sometimes hard to understand. That's kind of like, that's technical reading right there. And thank you, Nick, for sharing that, because I'll go back to that so you can see these rankings that we have here, 1, 2, 3, and 4. If once I go down to the actual rubric, you'll see 1, 2, 3, and 4. So those are all on here. So let's look at 2C, 2D, 2E. Let me give you just a moment, see if you have any questions or if there's any comments you want to make about C, D, and E.
Would you mind, Linda, because this was a learning experience for me. So 2C, students have authentic job roles and work in teams that replicate the workplace. Can you explain further what that is? Because it's not as simple as students in culinary work in there's a they work in industry standard kitchens. It's a little deeper than that.
You're exactly right. And this is where we get into the simulated workplace piece, which Deb Cullen understands that too. And she can, work with your teachers on that and what some of those job roles are. But I'll go over some of those. And you'll notice the student interview question actually told us if the teachers really did that, because look at that. What business and industry job roles have you and other students held in your CTE class? So what we were looking for, do you have someone who's quality control? Do you have a tool manager? Do you have a safety manager? The safety manager, we're looking when we go into these CTE programs, we're looking for them to be run like a business. So if I go in and we want the teacher to be the facilitator, and the teacher as the facilitator, he may or she may be standing back there, just monitoring, walking around the room. But then you've got other students who are foremen, and they're the ones that the students are asking the questions to. And these may be your your higher level students, of course, but you've got a quality control person who's monitoring what's the quality of this work that's coming out here. Your safety manager may have a 2-minute meeting every day with individuals, or once a week or once a month, saying, okay, here's where we are with our safety right now. Here's how many accidents were reported. Hopefully there's 0. And we would look for that to, have you ever been to businesses where they say 0 accidents within so many days? That's what we would look for in a CTE classroom, because those teachers came from business and industry. They understand what the real world is like, and we want them to bring their knowledge into the classroom. Good question there, Nick. Thank you for that. Anything else? That's, you know, we look at this and we're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. So that's why if you're looking deeper into this at any time and you want us to answer any more questions, you can come into any of the coaching sessions that we're having. We're going to be doing PD all year long, and feel free to join us. We also have, you can email us too.
And again, this is an overview session to get you to better understand how the data is was compiled and the type of things that the rubric assesses on. You're actually going to be receiving the rubrics for your programs for the schools that were visited before the start of the school year. So school principals, assistant principals will see.
We're trying to hold off for the teachers getting those until they do Deb's session, so they better understand it. Then you can share it with your teachers once Deb does her session.
Correct. It'll be shared with the school leaders to then share with after they review them, to share with their teachers.
So Nick, is there an ETA on that?
We're aiming before the start of the school year. So yeah, next Wednesday is a CTE Teachers Symposium. That's going to be kind of an overview version of this with the teachers, but then sometime in between that and the start of the school year, which is probably the Thursday or Friday, the
start is the following week, and so you're saying probably Thursday or Friday.
Before the start of the school year. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
And those documents are in like Word format. So if you make any changes to them, that will change that form. But I will have backup copies. But just tell your teachers you may want to keep your own backup copy, because once you share them, anybody can go in and make changes.
Linda, we have a question. Are middle school CTE teachers invited?
Sure. It's a district-wide professional learning. If the district has no problem with it, which I'm certain they don't, they're CTE teachers, and this is open to CTE teachers, but I'll let Nick or Bob or Kelly, I don't think you all have any problem with that.
Are you talking about to the symposium?
Oh,
yes.
Sorry.
To the CTE Symposium next?
How many, you could, I guess, Nick, you can answer.
Yeah, I just don't know, like, all the teachers that, I mean, I know something went out it's on Power School for anyone to sign up, right? And it's, geared towards CTE teachers. So I believe your teacher has access to sign up.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, just encourage them to.
Thank you, Connie. So, and Nick, thank you for pointing out how this is a great looking slide here, and you'll see 3s and 4s. That's great. So we're moving on to 2B, and an industry recognized decision-making process is used as an instructional approach to learning, problem-based, inquiry-based, challenge-based, project-based, and is fully integrated into the program. So let you take just a moment to look at this one. And you've already seen the rubric. And like I said, these are the levels that you saw on the rubric, and this is what we were answering. So the only thing you don't see here is the evidence that we used, and I probably could have actually put that on the left-hand side. That would have been, now I'm thinking, be a good thing to update these slides when I get around to it. Any comments about what you see here on this graph? I will tell you, we didn't see a lot of project-based learning. Even though your CTE teachers will tell you, oh, I do projects all the time. That's not what we call project-based learning, as you know. And it's it is having students work through a problem and have them design, have them to work with an actual audience. It could be working with a customer. It could be working with a company in designing something. The machine tool individuals, those individuals, they could design something. We've got a lot of CTE programs that they work with companies to design things on their 3D printers. And then that's how they make some money. So just, but we're looking for you to have teams, groups, where these individuals, the students are the ones who are using the decision-making process to solve their problems, independent of the teacher if you get a level 3 or 4. So if you will notice, we did have 43.4%. Well, actually, I'm sorry, I was counting the blue. We had 34, 35, almost 36%. Because it would be the green and the yellow. Any questions here? So here, let me let you look at 2C. Any questions? Do you have any questions to help better understand this data? Like, why do we have 54.5% at level 2?
I would assume it's what you spoke to earlier with like it not being, it'd be like isolated type task and not a true authentic workplace roles that kind of go with each role kind of being hand in hand with the other roles and responsibilities being carried out by the student base.
Yeah, very good. And so this was also about those teaming, because business and industry tells us we require our employees to work as productive team members. So you will see in the rubric that I'll share with you in just a moment, you will see that we went in and looked to see if we saw any teaming and if the teaming, students working in the teams was productive. So, and then in the interview with the students, we asked them about their job roles. We asked them about working with other students and what their roles were in there. We didn't want to see one student doing all the work and the rest of them sitting around talking about the dance that's taking place on the weekend or whatever. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Jay. That was very helpful. So 2D, let you look at that one. Let me ask you a question. Why do you think student portfolios are so important? Why do we have a question around students documenting and organizing their work? Anybody want to?
Student portfolios should increase student agency and engagement around the work if they are allowed to create their own portfolio of what they see as the best examples of their learning.
Great. Great. Thank you, Connie. Anybody else want to share?
I mean, if we're mirroring
And
CTE after
Oh.
like content-based areas, there should be some time for teachers to have like one-on-one check-in meetings with students. And then that student portfolio is also an opportunity to check on where a student currently is in relation to a standard or practice, and kind of where they are, where they were, and what their kind of goals are to obtain.
Wow, this is an impressive group. Thank you, Jay. Another reason is because when they leave that program area, they could take it with them on an interview to show them. There have been individuals that have gotten jobs because of their student portfolio, showing all the work that they did. So thank you. You all did a great job on that. As you can see, this area needs a little work. So we'll be working with teachers on that as well. Let's look at 2E. Give you just a minute. Any questions or comments about this one?
Is this amongst CTE teachers, or is this amongst CTE teachers and academic teachers?
This is all just CTE. We did 101 CTE programs in the district. Thank you, Alexis.
So then my question would be that there's some programs that have interdisciplinary projects amongst their CTE teachers and the academic teachers, and there's a artifact that's developed over a 4-6 week period. Were you able to glean that?
Okay, I'm sorry, was that a question? I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
that was a question.
Yeah, so if you look back back at our evidence that we used, on teachers working 2E, teachers work in teams to provide instruction. Look at the evidence on the right-hand side. We use the master schedule showing, do they have collaboration time built into their schedule? When do they have time to collaborate if there's not something built into their schedule? And the lesson plan showing teacher collaboration. Now, the CTE district leaders here, they can tell you that the teachers, the schools, and the district had a list from us of, we want examples of this, this, and this. So we said, we want an example of a lesson plan where you collaborate with another teacher. And so that was part of the evidence there. And then describe how you decide and design collaborative time with another teacher to enhance your program. They could have said, I work with, for example, there was one school, there was a automotive technology and collision, and they worked together to collaborate. That's okay. We counted that. There were others that they collaborated together, like health science collaborating with a biology class or another science class. And then electricity collaborating with science when it came to solar energy. And so the project for the students was to develop a solar, something that was solar. And then but then they'd work with the science students, and that teacher would provide additional information on solar energy. So that would be the collaboration. So in looking at the data here, so if they provided that evidence, if you'll look, we had 52.5% support is provided, but no evidence of implementation. And yes, It could have been a 6-week project. It could have been one day. It could have been, all year long. Whatever they gave us is what we assessed. So yes, that would have worked if we would have received that. And then that would have put them into a 3. If a 4 is where, we're looking at, did the teacher take ownership of those efforts of collaboration? How much, or did they just let the science teacher do it or the other teacher? So that's what we were looking for there. Did that answer your question, Alexis?
Absolutely.
Thank you. And I appreciate you asking those questions because, it helps you to understand how the team assessed these documents and how we all collaboratively came up with the rating of what we would have given. So the recommendations for engaging instruction, I'll let you look through those. These are SREB's recommendations that we provided to the district. So I think you can see here that the recommendations fit those, the data, it supports that. So in looking at this, what I'd like for you to do now is I'll show you the rubric. Well, you saw it, but I'll pull it up here so you can see the rubric in its entirety there for area 2. But were there any wows and wonders? And you also have the link to the rubric in your action agenda. But were there any wows and wonders that you had about the rubric? I think now that you've seen the data, and I think that was a good question that Alexis asked and that Connie and Jade have talked about. It digs more into the rubric and that data that we use. So I've heard some of your questions about the rubric. And then what are the most striking features of the pie charts that your group's been tasked with reviewing, which is us? And I think Nick pointed out about the one pie chart, so thank you about that. And then the unexpected findings. Was there anything, that's probably what we didn't hear about, was there anything that you were surprised to find in the district-wide data? And then, because this is engaging instruction, what kind of alignment do you see with the Danielson framework? That's where we want to help you with the professional learning so that we can address your teachers' growth areas. So do anybody want to jump in and just give me some feedback on any of these? Or you can add them, or you can put them in the chat.
Well, I would say a wow would be the academic integration across the district that I mentioned earlier. That I think, knowing from where we started, I mean, I've been working in CT for 20 years, and knowing where it was that long ago to where it is now, it's definitely leaps and bounds. So it's has been a point of concentrated effort to ensure that the CT programs, strive to integrate the academic standards so that achievement is reciprocal.
Thank you, Nick. And we want to continue to work on that because of the Keystone test that they're taking. And also because it impacts your Perkins indicators for 2S.
1
For science,
Yep.
math,
It's
and literacy.
it's a Keystone literature, algebra, Keystone algebra, and science, biology was one of the newest Perkins indicators. So yeah.
And that's why we believe the collaboration is so important, because it does impact student results on those. anyone else want to, do you see any alignment with the Danielson framework, anyone?
I mean, yes, without seeing obviously my own school's data, because that's what I would know what's going on in the classrooms a bit better than district-wide. It obviously these particular sections align with the 3C Danielson, which is engaging students in learning. And there's obviously you're seeing a lot of twos in areas besides that first one, which is not necessarily a surprise. To me, it translates to that basic level, surface level, I guess I'm saying that CTE teachers are implementing a more surface level practice of what their industry standards read. Hence being in that basic area of Danielson framework, and we're trying to push them to the distinguish when the students are doing more complex work and taking ownership of their learning. And I think one of the other principals or APs were talking about student agency, like them taking on that focus and really pushing themselves towards mastery of their industry standards so that they are prepared for the workforce or college.
So I think it speaks to where the instructors come in, the teachers, based on that they're industry professionals. So the belief that they are going to jump into this job on day one and be able to master the delivery of instruction and being able to engage, capture students to say, oh, I want to learn more. This domain speaks to how what efforts we need to make to ensure that they are comfortable and are provided with strategies to deliver that instruction and build those strategies so students actually take this stuff that they're learning, and it's lifelong learning that takes place.
Deb Cullen loved that response. That's exactly what she's going to be doing in the professional learning that she's doing with the CTE teachers. So yeah, I could see her. I know what she's thinking. Yes, I love that. Yeah. Deb, you want to comment about any of that?
Well, I think you're exactly right. I think that helping give the strategies to the teachers who can then in turn help students take these workplace learning and what they need to go out into the workforce is really so important. It's being able to apply what they're learning in that classroom to actually take it out, make some money, make a living, be productive members of society. So yeah, my heart was beaming when he was talking for sure.
So, and I will say that when we, Kelly, I'm sorry. I was just going to say that when we deliver our training or our professional learning opportunities coaching, we do it in a manner where your teachers, we use engaging strategies that your teachers, and we pointed out, look what strategy I'm using here. It's not a sit and get, because that's what we're trying to get them away from. It's like, I could have gone through this and just told you what the data said, but that gets kind of boring and it's unengaging. So a lot of what we will be doing, we will be using engaging strategies with your teachers that they can take away with them. So they'll have tools in their tool belt when they leave our professional learning. Hopefully they get to participate. So thank you for that. That was very helpful, because keep in mind, as we said earlier, these teachers came in with probably no pedagogy, and I can't guarantee you that the classes they took at the Penn State, wherever they took it at Temple University or wherever, that they took a lot away from it, because it's but anyway, because we were seeing a great need in that area. So thank you all. That was very helpful. Here I have 4 more questions if you want to look at those quickly.
Well, I wanted to
And
give
see
Kelly,
Kelly,
did you want to speak
Oh,
to
I'm
that?
sorry, Kelly.
No, that's fine. I just wanted to kind of piggyback off some of the things that have been said. one of the things that we really like to work on with our teachers is trying, I always let the teachers know, like, getting the classroom to run even if you weren't there, right? So giving the students that level of independence, and then that aligns, you know, by third years, by being in a program, you know, third year level 3 students, they should be able to be like, almost like, hey, this is, I can do it without my teacher's help. You know, we have them there for guidance, but by the time that they're level 3, that classroom should be such a well-oiled machine that like they should be able to just kind of, you know, have it run even if the teacher didn't show up.
Yeah, if the CEO doesn't show up for work, work goes on as normal, you know. But if you've got a team and a team member doesn't show up, that's the same thing in the workplace. So those are the things. Thank you, Kelly. And thank you, Deb, for keeping me in line. That's why she's always, you know, she's always great about keeping me in line. So I appreciate that.
So
Any
before-
comments? Oh, I'm sorry, Connie.
before you go on to the next set of questions, I addressed the one of the wonderings was for me the lower percentage of actual PBL taking place, but it kind of speaks to what Kelly was just speaking about, their whole reluctance to turn over the reins and allow scholars to be creative in designing solutions for problems as they arise in CTE spaces. And again, I say that I think that the earlier we expose our scholars to opportunities around creative brainstorming and creative solution finding for CTE issues, the more comfortable they can become with doing it at the more distinguished level.
And Connie, I love that you refer to our students as scholars. Thank you for that, because it's our delivery and what those students get out of it, as to they're the ones that are going to be the productive citizens, and that's what we're making, trying to keep Philadelphia. Y'all have a lot of jobs, you know, a lot of different businesses and industry around there. So you could see that as you go into there. It's a busy place. But thank you for sharing that. I will also say, in addition to our students being referred to as scholars, in the CTE classroom with the simulated workplace, we refer to them as employees because we're looking for that to be a true workplace. So we encourage our teachers, and that elevates those students in you know, and the work they do, because then they're assigning their work just as if they were in a company. So thank you for that. We've even had some to pay them, you know, it's fake money, of course, but and then they can spend their earnings on things later on. So it's really, we've had them to hire and fire them. We have some that have a HR committee, you know, composed of students. And so the students will actually get fired from the program. Then they have to go through that committee of their peers to be rehired. You can't, you know, you don't throw them out of the class, right? But it's still real work. You got to get a job. If you're fired, you got to go work somewhere. So that's, you know, and they may take they may be demoted to a lower position. So there are all kinds of things when we actually see the simulated workplace active involvement there. And I think, Jade, when you referred earlier, that's what we want. Oh, I'm sorry, Kelly. That's what we want the teacher to be, a facilitator. You know, that way when you're not there, things still go on as usual. Any comments about these questions? You measure, okay, you're going to be, you're sending your teachers to professional development training. You're letting them take time to participate in the coaching that Deb's going to provide. How do you measure if that's really making a difference? What can we do to help you know that the time away from their class is making a difference. It's impacting their instruction in the classroom. Can we provide you with data? What can we do that might help you and help us to measure the impact of the professional learning we're doing? You can think about that. And if you have some ideas, you can always share them with Nick or Bob or Kelly, and they'll get them to us, or Michelle, anybody that you want to there. So thank you for that.
I think sometimes too, in schools that I've worked with in CTE centers, I think it's important for our directors and principals, if they know that their teachers are going to a certain type of training session or coaching, to just maybe put that on your walkthrough and just kind of look for those things that are occurring in your classrooms. That's one of the best ways at first to start observing what are the impact of the professional developments that actually happening.
Yeah, so when they go, and Deb will share with you, you know, what that training was about, so that you'll know when you're going in to do a walkthrough yourself. Could just be a 5-minute walkthrough, but tell them, say, I'm coming through sometime today and I'd like to see you implement something that you learned from Deb Cullen's session. So in looking at what systems or processes, school or district-wide, are in place to support ongoing program enhancement, you know, we saw most of the schedules had opportunities for PLC time and planning time, but we didn't see that time was very useful. So that's what we would like to see, is how can we work with administrators to gauge how can that time be used more effectively? I'm putting it into their schedule and I'm expecting them to use it, but keep in mind, our teachers have not been trained to collaborate. They've not been trained to do, you know, work in focus teams or to design PLCs on their own. So those are the things that, and that may be one of the things that we can do, is to provide a PLC for your teachers on how they can better utilize their planning time and how they can better utilize their PLC time where they're working with other teachers.
I have a question, and I don't know if you particularly, Dr. Floyd, can answer it, or if this is more of the CTE team. But the PD sessions, professional development sessions that you kind of talked about and outlined in the beginning that our teachers would be receiving throughout this school year based off of this data and information. Most of the times they're kind of given during sessions where, like, I can't necessarily attend all of them with the teachers all the time because I have multiple departments and different things. Is there a way, like this kind of OpCon session, is there another way that we administrators can also get to view those same PDs or get those same PDs, not at the same times as teachers, because it would help me be able to see the information that they're receiving, and then be able to develop a walkthrough rubric or take what is being given out that I can then support them in the classroom with implementation, but also continue that work in PLCs. So is there?
I love that. I love
possibility?
that question, Jade. Yes, love that question. Love that you're thinking that way, because that is the only way we're going to see growth, is with the administrator having the expectation. So Deb Cullen's excited to answer this one. She was clapping, she was smiling. So I'll let her address this one.
Well, I don't know that I can answer on a district level, but I would love to see that. I would love to see, I would love to do director PDs where I put you all through the same strategies and training that you see. I'd love to encourage, there are several really strong, engaging practices that I use that I strongly encourage principals and directors to use in their teacher meetings with their teachers, to literally use teacher engaging strategies with their teachers in their meetings as you becoming an instructional leader and providing them with practice or with newer strategies, and then they can take that into their classroom. So if I were to work with the principals and give you 2 or 3 strategies, you model them in your teacher training, and then that way you can really go in and see what they're doing. You all have a grasp of it. So I love that idea.
And I can speak a little bit to that. And Nick, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think what we're trying to do, Jade, to your point, is kind of align some of the professional development that we're doing with principals to align directly with what the teachers are receiving, right? So there's no like, it's not disjointed. So if we're asking the teachers to do you know, some sort of deliverable, you would be, you know, in the know of like what that deliverable is, what it should look like, and then when you are doing like your, you know, your walkthroughs or your formal observations and that sort of thing, that it can all be aligned. And I know you guys are doing a new training, a new walkthrough template but anyway, everything is going to, you know, hopefully be aligned in a way to make it, you know what what's expected of the teachers, and that has been presented to you at like a leadership professional development.
Yeah, to Kelly's point and what Linda was speaking to, we have as part of the PD plan that SREB is gonna be delivering. We submitted, Tomas submitted to Dr. Dawson for his approval. There's going to be several sessions, including for building leaders and to be learning about CTE look-fors when they go into the CTE classroom, and specifically aligned to the findings from SREB. So it's all going to be connected if we, you know, as long as everything gets approved from the you know, at the chief level. But we're confident everything's going to be approved, and we'll have those trainings all available.
And an example, Jade, is next week on Wednesday, Deb's going to go through the results with the CTE teachers. So she'll use, you know, may use a different method since it's in person, but so we're trying to mimic so that you understand this is what we're delivering to the teachers. So I really appreciate, and that would be in the administrative sessions, and feel free, administrators are absolutely welcome to join any of the coaching sessions, any of the training sessions that we're doing for teachers. But we will have separate administrator sessions as well. So, and if you all wouldn't mind to encourage others, you know, I hope this has been a valuable session for you. Encourage others, you know, to sit in on our sessions so that they understand better what this process is about. So one of the things, and you all jump in at any time you have any questions, but I want to go through and show you. And you have on this at the very bottom, you actually have a link to all of these things that I'm going to show you, and they're down here. For example, right now I'm going to show you the program rubric that you've looked at. So here's your program rubric, and you can see it looks, I took it directly from this rubric for those that are in that slide that you saw. And then you will also see over here the assessment rubric that we used. There's the link to the assessment rubric. And right here is what it looks like. And this is, when we looked at the assessments, this is what we looked at. And we actually, whether they were using formative or summative. So if they were asking questions, this is this is what we were looking for in those questions. So, you know, level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. And so you have a copy of that. Here you see you have a copy of the actual walkthrough instrument that we used. And this is the data tool that we use for the walkthroughs. And you will see that we looked at the classroom setting. Did they have some students in classroom, some students in the lab, or were all students in the lab, or were all students in the classroom? Then we looked at classroom setting B. Does it look like an industry? When I go in, does it look like industry? The course setting, you know, was it a single course or were there multiple courses being taught simultaneously? That happens a lot in CTE because of the enrollment and when there's a single teacher. And so did we observe any accommodations or modifications? Were there 2 levels of students in there, but everybody was doing the same thing? We wanted to see the levels being addressed there. standards and tasks, where they posted. We recommend that they post them on the wall or on their board, because we want students and the teacher to refer back to those frequently during the class, so students know what they are expected to achieve on that particular day. And does it reflect workplace standards? We want it to be a business and industry. If you go into business and industry, they have it posted on a board. They don't go to Google Classrooms to look it up. They have it posted on a board. This is what we're doing today. This is what our goal is. This is the achievement. Same thing when we're looking at posting the number of injuries. You see that. We want to look just like a workplace. Engaging strategies. What were they using? Were they using technology? Were they doing a PowerPoint? Was it student discussion that we saw? Were they giving feedback to students, or were they using some sort of an assessment, a quiz or a test? And that could have been like if they did a Kahoot, we would have checked that. Even though it may have been just a couple minutes, we would have checked that, because that would have been formative assessment there too. And then here we had the culture of expectations, employability skills, use of technical language. We asked the students about what tool are you using there. Here we had authentic learning, student collaboration. You saw where we assessed that. You saw where we assessed the integration of academics. How much of that did we see going on? And it wasn't just from the observations, their lesson plans. We use that to assess that as well. But this is just the walkthrough instrument. Questioning. What did their questioning look like? We found questioning needs a little work. Keep in mind, they're probably mimicking the teacher that they had 30 years ago, or it could have been closer. Formative assessments. What are they using for formative assessment? How did they do that in the classroom? And then what kind of feedback were they giving to the students? And then also the intellectual challenge. And then also, you will see the lesson plan rubric. And so here is the link to that you'll see. This is how we assess their lesson plans, each lesson plan that they provided to us. And this is the rubric 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then the syllabus criteria, when they're doing a syllabus, this is the syllabus this is the information that we assessed on all 101 programs. If they gave us 3 syllabi, we did this for each syllabi. And that's how then we got the score of what, for their ranking 1, 2, 3, or 4. So you have access to this. And I would suggest some of the teachers were giving college credit for their class. If they're giving college credit for their class that they're taking, some of these teachers were actually offering a college class in the evening, and it was the same class. They could use the same syllabus that is for the post-secondary level as for the secondary level, because it's supposed to be the same class. So you could recommend that. One of the things I do want to say about the syllabus, we see a syllabus as a contract between the students, the teacher, and or the students, the school, and the parents. So we look for signatures on the syllabus, and that would be, one of the things that we would look for. So we would look for the syllabus if they had them to sign off on that. That's the contract. That's why we look for all of this stuff on there, because that's what we would hope that, that tells them what the class is going to be and the expectations. And then this is our SREB website, and that's the rubric. So do you have any questions? We have a few more minutes. If I'll answer any questions that you might have, I'll go over any of these additional documents that you want me to. Nick does have a slide or two that we could review too, but
yeah, and real quick, I put in the chat an attendance link for today's session, as well as a feedback survey. So if you could open those up and complete those, you know, at your earliest convenience or sometime after the session, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
I do have a question about the coaching. I just want some clarity. I don't know if I missed it. But will the coaching sessions be mandatory for CTE teachers, the one-on-one coaching sessions, or is this like a voluntary basis for teachers to opt to log into coaching sessions?
Those coaching sessions that Linda was talking about are going to be
Right.
optional, but
Okay.
they're going to be, you know, we'll send out more information on them, including the dates. But it's pretty much, Deborah, correct me if I'm wrong, you're going to be available all day. Teachers can log in at their, you know, at their convenience whenever they have availability throughout the day.
For
It'll
as
be-
long and as short as they want. They want to pop on and ask a question and go right back out, they can. But
Okay.
I'll just have a link open all day, and I'll just be, you know, sitting and waiting and see if somebody wants to come talk with me.
Okay.
Yep, but we'll share that information with school leaders, so you know all the dates that they'll be available.
One
Okay.
of the things, if you're giving a teacher feedback, let's say you go in, you do an observation, and then, you know, after the observation, you pull them in and you talk to them, or it may even be about their growth area from the Danielson framework. Those are things that they can discuss with Deb. Say, hey, Deb, I got to improve in this area. Tell me what you need me to do. You know, they can come with, Deb's really quick on her feet. I mean, she's got the answer to everything, I'm sure. So, or they could send her the question before the coaching visit. She might prefer that, but she's pretty quick, I'll tell you. She's been asked just about every question there is, but sometimes we get surprises.
I've been doing this for a long time, and one of my hobbies, my work is my hobby. I love researching and reading, and trying out strategies. But also, one of the things that I really hope to do is to kind of tie the teachers from the different schools in the district together. You know, if they want to come, and you have a teacher who a lot of times in our CTE centers might be singletons. They might just be the only welder or the only, being able to connect them together with another school and have the same questions or work on the same kinds of things. So even using those sessions to even make a network in Philadelphia would be a fantastic thing to do as well.
Thank you, Deb. So yeah, you have our email here. You have my cell number. Like I said earlier in the last session, sometimes we don't get around to our email because we're doing training all day long with somebody else. So if you have an urgent need, you might want to text me. Deb won't care to share her cell number either, but when I was creating this, I didn't take the liberty to add that on there for them. But if feel free to text us, reach out to us with any emergency that you might have, or if you've got something that you say, hey, could you do this in the next session, Deb? Email us and let us know. If you have something that you want covered in the administrator session as well, you know, just say, hey, Linda, Deb, this is what I need. So we're here to help you. I do want to emphasize your district really places value on CTE. They're not spending the money just, you know, to because, you know, there's other things they could spend it on, but they really place a high value on CTE. You don't often see CTE as one of the goals of the district. I mean, that's a big deal. So I appreciate that. And we want you to know we're here for you. That's why they have us on board. We customize whatever we do. You know, we don't have a canned thing that says, no, this is all we're going to be doing. Whatever they ask us to do, we're asked right now to look at competency-based learning. So having to do a lot of research on that one. So, but anyway, whatever your need is, that's what we're here for. Just reach out to us.
Awesome. Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Deb. Thank you, everyone, for jumping on and bearing with us on this Friday afternoon. I know it's hard being on a 90-minute Zoom on a Friday afternoon, you know, weekend before the teachers get back next week. So you all get your rest and get ready to ramp up again next week. And thanks to my team. Thanks, everyone.
I have a question, another one. I have
Yep.
1,000 questions.
Good.
Your contact information, Dr. Floyd, I missed that. I thought
Let
it
me
was,
put it back up. I'll put it back up.
see it.
I can put it in the chat if you want me to copy it too, whatever.
Uh,
Nick always has it. Kelly has it. Reach
Yep.
out to any of these. I mean, everybody has my email. They have Deb's email. They have my cell phone. These people have become really family. I mean, I'm texting somebody or doing something, sending emails every week.
Yeah, it's pretty much common occurrence. Oh, Nick's.
Yeah, I even meet with Philly on vacation time, don't I, Nick?
You were at the bottom of the Grand Canyon one time, I think, right?
Yeah.
Trying to
Yeah.
get reception to talk to us.
Yeah. I love Philly. I'm here for you all. Truly. That's what Deb and I both. We want to see you all succeed. So whatever your need is, that's what we're here for.
Jade, did you get it?
Yes, I got it. Thank you. And I do have a separate question, but it's really for Kingston. It's not about SREB, but I'm going to grab you while you're here.
Oh,
What you want me to turn? I'll turn off the recording. You ready?
And
yeah,
I'm
you
gonna
can turn.
run back to my final session for my
Yeah,
final
anyone